study, actually looking ahead the next 14 chapters. And I noticed that Jesus does this, so it's okay for me to do this. He does a sermon inside of a sermon. So what I wanted to start with, because I just don't want to pass over it, it's such an important piece, is this part that says in Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. Now, how many of us have heard that along the way? And basically, we turn around and say, boy, that's nice. Right? Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Doesn't sound like a good idea. But I still believe we ought to have a gun in our house. And I believe if somebody's going to hurt me, I need to go ahead and hurt them back. I need to protect myself. And it sounds, when we hear that what Jesus is saying is not very strong. It's telling us some nice idealistic stuff, but it doesn't really make sense if you want to continue to live in a dangerous world, right? And that's how we often, so we hear it, but then we often dismiss it. But the interesting part is we don't delve deeper into exactly what Jesus is trying to say here. How would his hearers have heard this particular passage? So let me show you, because there's really a lot of depth in it. And Ron, I'm going to use you for this. Can I borrow you for a second? All right. Now, what does it say? It says in there, you strike. Just face me like this. It says if you get struck on the right cheek, offer the left. Why did it say the right cheek? The reason, because if I was somebody above you, I would look at you and say, the culture would not allow me to strike you like this. If I ball up my fist, I'm making a statement that you're equal to me. Okay? You get that, right? See? So if I ball up my fist and punch you, where am I going to punch you? On your other cheek, right? So, what am I going to do? I'm going to backhand you like this on your right cheek, right? So if somebody comes up to you and backhands you on your right cheek like that, he says, turn back around this way. Now, the problem is, I can't backhand you if you turn your face that way. Can I? I can't backhand you, right? Only thing I can do is ball up my fist if I want to strike you and punch you on the left. Right? So what does he say? If somebody strikes you on your right, offer your left. Because you're going to make them have to pay to hit you. You get that? You're going to have to pay. I'm going to have to pay by calling you an equal. Simply by striking you. By striking you, I am raising and elevating you. It's going to make me think before I hit you again, isn't it? Before I hit you again, I'm not just going to turn around and ball up my fist and hit you. So what we've always heard is offer your left cheek. Like, just keep getting beat up over and over and over again. That's what we hear. It sounds weak, doesn't it? But Jesus wasn't saying that at all. You get that? What Jesus was saying is, if you strike that person back, you're into a fight and it gets nowhere, right? But if you turn around, it takes more thought, it takes more effort to figure out how to make this man think, so that he has to think about what he's risking to strike me. Now, how can we do the same rather than just striking back at violence? How can we make other people think about what they're giving up? That was one of the examples he used, right? Now he turned around and he says, now someone sues you for your coat. They take your coat. Give them your cloak as well. Now, remember the attire that they had. They had a coat. And then underneath was a cloak. And underneath the cloak, guess what? Nothing. Right? Buck naked. You were buck naked underneath that cloak. So, I sue you and I take your coat. He says, give your cloak as well. Which means, you're going to be buck naked. Now, that sounds awful to you right now, except understand that for me, as the abuser, as somebody who's doing that, if I look upon somebody who is naked, in that culture, guess what? I become unclean. I become unclean. If I take your cloak, I become unclean. You see what you've done? You're already unclean anyway, right? You're already unclean. So you just made, by my action, I have made myself unclean. You see, you make them think about it. Now, what was the third one? The last one was, if somebody tells you to walk a mile, carry it 2. To carry something 1 mile, he said carry it 2. Well, remember, here's the law, okay? Now, you're a Roman soldier, okay? You're a Roman soldier, or let's put it this way, because I'm a Roman soldier, right? Now, as legally, I can make you, a citizen, carry anything I want for 1 mile. And only 1 mile. If I ask you to carry something further, any further than 1 mile, I am in violation of the law, and I will face penalties for doing that. So what is Jesus saying? It makes him think, right? So the minute we get up to 1 mile, right, I'm going to be ready to take back what I've given you to carry. And what are you going to do? You're going to hold it and keep on walking with it. What's that going to make me do? Whoa, wait. Wait a minute. What am I doing now? I'm thinking about what I just did, right? Do you get it? Jesus is not telling us to be weak people of God. Jesus is not telling us to be weak. He's not telling us to keep getting beat up over and over again. But he's saying that violence only begets more violence. That striking back only makes more. Look at Rwanda. Look at what happened in Rwanda when they had to get back together and live together. One group could have turned around and killed all the ones that killed them. And what ends up happening? What's happening in our political system right now? One side gets in control and they overwhelm the other side and everybody's going at it. Nobody's thinking. Nobody's trying to figure anything out. You see, violence only begets more violence. So what is Jesus saying? He's saying if you are children of God, don't act like the world. Just because they do it doesn't mean you should do it. It means you need to be smarter than the world. See, the wisdom of the world doesn't hold up, does it? The wisdom of the world doesn't hold up to that. The wisdom of the world says, you get strike back. But what did God just do with that wisdom? If you responded that way, what is Jesus saying to do with that very wisdom? Made it foolish, didn't it? Made it absolutely foolish. People of God, we're not called to be weak, we're called to be stronger. We're not called to be dumb, we're called to be smarter. We're called to make the world think so that it can be something different than it already is. That's what it means to be children of God. He went back over that and said the behavior. See, the problem is what we're doing is automatically we say, well, that's human. What kind of human are we talking about? We talking about the human that God made us to be? Or are we talking about the human that is broken as it is right now? It's not good enough for you to simply say you're a broken human. You are a child of God. And that's exactly what Paul was saying. Paul says, like a master builder, I laid a foundation, right? He says, like a master builder, I laid a foundation. But then he turns around and says, but the only foundation is Jesus Christ. So how did he lay the foundation? What does that mean, he laid the foundation? He didn't lay the foundation. Jesus Christ laid the foundation, right? That would make sense. Well, except Jesus Christ is the foundation, but you have to lay it. What's the church exist for? What is it that we exist as a church for? See, everybody says, I go to church. I hear that all the time. Well, I don't know if I want to go to church today. I don't know, especially on. You know, if I ever wake up and say, I don't want to go to church, that's not a good thing. But we hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to go to church today. I'm not. Don't you get it? Paul says, you are the temple. You are the temple. The foundation, this church, this building is not the foundation. This building, the church, existed to give you a foundation. That's its only purpose. Its purpose was like the master builder that laid a foundation. What foundation did it lay for you? The foundation is the kingdom of heaven. The foundation is Jesus Christ. His greatest message is the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So if Jesus Christ is the foundation, then your life is meant to be built on the foundation of Jesus Christ, on the kingdom. Well, what does the kingdom look like? Does the kingdom look like the values and the things out there in the world? Does that construct, is that construct the way the kingdom of heaven will be? When you picture the fulfillment to be, what will it look like? How will people behave with one another? We say it'll be like streets of gold. Well, in this culture, we have people tearing up the dang streets of gold just to be able to sell it so they can make more money and be able to buy more stuff on their own. Streets of gold doesn't mean the value of the same thing we say gold has. Why streets of gold? I love it. He says it will be like streets of gold. It's kind of like people asking, what does it taste like? And you say it tastes like chicken. It's not. You can't compare it. You can't compare what it will be like. What will it be like? It will be love in its fullest. Love of God and love of each other. Nothing will be in between us. That's what it means to stand on that solid foundation. And that solid foundation is not somewhere else. That solid foundation is here. Not in this building. Folks, don't you get it? You are the temple of God. Did you hear it? You are the temple of God. What does that mean? It means your life is meant to be built on the solid foundation of Jesus Christ. Now, the interesting thing is there's a lot of building materials that's different for everybody on that same foundation, don't you think? I had and was blessed in a very different place to have that foundation laid for me, to be given Jesus Christ. And then my parents built a lot of stuff on top of that foundation, and others did as well. And I am continually building. I've had my building come down before. Y'all ever felt that feeling? The amazing thing is, I can always rebuild on the solid foundation of Jesus Christ. It was my faith that got me through those times. Has it happened to you? Well, your building's changed a little bit too. See that man right back there, that Jim Morton? I've seen him smile. I've actually seen him smile. He can't smile. He does not look the same as he did 30 years ago. You know that? I've seen pictures, Jim. Huh? Your building's changed, hasn't it? The building material has changed. But the foundation, every one of you, we all know what that goes through. What happens when you get older and you can't hear and you can't see and you got aches and pains? Somebody told me once, said, before you complain to somebody who's older than you about your aches and pains, watch out. They'll just look at you and say, it gets better. Right? The building changes, it drops down, but there's one thing, there's one foundation that even Sybil Shaw right now, through what she's going through, she can't speak. Now hopefully she'll get that speech back or be able to talk, but things have changed. One day to the next, your life can change in a minute. But there is one thing that is solid, and that is the foundation of Jesus Christ. So no matter what age you are, no matter what happens, my brother was telling me after losing his wife, you know, think about it. This whole building has changed. His whole construct of life. He's going to have to be rebuilding again. But it's the same foundation. That's what Paul's saying. It's not about what you give to the church. You are the temple. It's what the church gives to you, offers to you. We offer you the opportunity place where you can come and rebuild your life on the solid foundation of Jesus Christ. Now, there's places where you haven't built that right. Places where you have justified and done all kinds of things. We all have. How many times do I hear good Christian people say, you know what? I'm not holy. I'm not righteous. And we talk about what we're not. You ever hear that? You ever do that? You ever talk about what you're not? You are the temple of God. You are the dwelling place. Have you received communion? Have you received the blessing? Are you receiving the word and bringing it into your heart? Then you are called to be holy. You are called to be different. Remember, you are direct from the manufacturer, right? You are called and built to be holy. Your building may change, but your foundation needs to always remain the same. And if you build on it, even your weaknesses are made stronger by standing on Jesus Christ. But the question is, what does that look like? Wow, first lesson, did you read it? Get a chance, go back and take a look at it. I'm not going to go through all of it. But it talks about the fact that leaving part of the field vacant, right? Don't reap all the way around. Don't take it all. Why? So you can leave for the sojourner, for the widow, for the other ones who have need for it. That was absolutely different than the wisdom and foundation that everybody else was taught along the way. Why are you called to do it? Because your God is holy. And if your God is holy, then so should you be. He talks about the fact that we shall not steal, we shall not swear falsely. We often think of just saying swear words. Understand that when they're talking about swearing, they're not talking about words. They're talking about making promises you can't keep. They're talking about saying things and not doing them. They're talking about integrity and action in life. They're talking about more than simply words. They're talking about your whole life. You hear it? Look, folks, we're not called to reflect the world. And if you want to be a gift to the world, if you want to be something different, then you need to act differently. You need to talk differently. You need to think differently. And if you think that Jesus Christ is going to say, it's good enough that you just come in here and say these words on Sunday morning and everything else is okay, you have not read the gospel the way I have. Look at it closely. He wants to invite you to be something different, because only then will the world be invited to build their house on the right. We say we're a Christian nation, right? But have we really built it all on Jesus Christ? Take a look. How do we behave to each other? What's happening along the way? The building is falling apart. But here's the amazing thing. The United States of America is not the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God involves the whole world and beyond. And so therefore, even when everything falls apart, here's the hope. Ready? You can rebuild again based upon the kingdom of heaven being at hand. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, can separate us from the love of God in Jesus Christ. Be the gift God has called you to be. How many times do people turn around and say, you know what, I don't have time. I don't have time to study Scripture over here. I don't have time for these conversations. I got so much else going on in the world. But I was raised in the church. I was taught Sunday school. I was given great things as a child, so I must be okay. And wondering why their life falls apart when they get older. Wondering why when the tests really happen, they falter in faith. Wondering why when we get tested, we don't know where to build again. And it's because we have not committed. What Paul laid was the foundation of Jesus' life for us. Not ideas. He gave us the foundation on which we are to build your life. And that building's always going on because, folks, you don't look the same as you used to do. You're always going to be having to relearn some things every single day, returning to it. So what do you build your tomorrow on? What do you build your today on? What foundation? I hope we remember to build it on a solid foundation of Jesus Christ. Amen.